It's that time where we say, Sam, Dean. There we go. Yeah. we're going to watch from the channel Supernatural Conventions from our friend Ash over at our Patreon page, who sometimes puts these videos together just for us. But I think this one is just for the channel. So yeah, not a special Ash. No, I'm just messing with you.
Thanks.
Just messing with you, Ash.
Love.
The title of this one is called Point Jared. Don't know if that's going to be the one that's in our title for the YouTube reaction. We might think of a better one.
Yeah.
Just joking. Ash, you'll always be better than us. But of course, I'm sure you've heard us mention this before. If you have and you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? Check us out at our Patreon page. Become a Patronaject today. Weekly Q&As, and we do TV show reaction stream-alongs when you sync up with a time code, full length. And those shows that we cover are Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Stranger Things Season 3, Gotham, Haunting of Hill House Season 1, and Cobra Kai Season 2. And there are shows where we have the stream-along option, and we do edits for reaction highlights included. Like when you see a YouTube cut for TV show reactions, we do that for a lot of the shows that we cover at Patreon as well. And those shows are Supernatural, of course, My Hero Academia, movie included, Hunter x Hunter, Code Geass, Death Note, Attack on Titan, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and One Punch Man. And just so you guys know, we've recently updated the way how the browse features work on Patreon to make it easier for you guys to navigate our Patreon page.
Especially on mobile.
Especially on mobile. The last thing I'll mention is in March, we will be starting up reactions at our Patreon for Doctor Who. Anywho, let's get into this.
Is there anything you do either separately or together to get into character and prepare for scenes or anything like that?
We don't rehearse.
You mean just in general?
Yeah, just in general, like do you exercises, do you listen to music?
I have a very specific method. I really do. I've had it since before Supernatural. I memorize, so I read the scripts over and over and over and over and over. I have read through script 10, I've read the outline for 11, 12, a dozen times at least. And then, so the way I try to approach the day, the filming day, is to pretend it's a movie I've seen a dozen times. Like we all have those movies or TV shows or songs where you know the next verse,
Jensen looks
the next
bored.
scene, the next line, the next word.
You know.
So I try to get to that spot.
He's been to a lot of these.
Where I know what is going on in the scene. You know, if there's a scene about Sam going to the store, then the scene's about Sam going to the store. So Sam says to me, hey, I'm going to the store. What do you get? Apples and oranges. Why oranges? Well, I'm trying to start a diet. Well, what's the new diet? Well, I like vitamin C. Well, vitamin. So, and then, but the words don't really matter. It's more about who you are as a person, as a character, and blending them. So for me, I try and just make it like it's in the back of my head.
Jensen's very distracted.
So I memorize my lines on the treadmill. That morning, I commit to whatever scenes we're doing that day. And then he and I will get to set in like hair and makeup or one of our trailers or blocking, kind of get through it and kind of do the logistics of it. But yeah, and then you just kind of like bob and weave, you know?
I don't read the script. Script reads me.
Tropic Thunder.
Oh, the jokes are flying on set. I'm actually the opposite of that. I will read the script one time, but I will read it very, very slowly. A lot of times I'll go back and I'll read one line 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 times until I figure out the way that I think it makes sense to me. Then I'll move on, and so it'll take me, 40, 45-page script is usually what we have. I'll spend an hour and a half reading it. And that's just because I'm not reading, I'm studying it. But I'll only do it once. And then, so I have the idea, and it just gets locked in there. And then when I show up on set, then, like he said, we'll read the lines a few times. And then we'll go in and perform them. And for me, it kind of it leaves me available to allow for happy accidents and all of the little things to kind of present themselves in the scene. Because a lot of times, if I'm reading it, I'm studying it over and over and over, and I've seen this happen with guest stars that will come on. They'll read the lines in the mirror so much that they've locked in exactly how they want to say this word, exactly how they want to say this line. And no matter what the person is doing opposite them, or how they're delivering their lines, that would change the way that they would deliver their lines, they're still saying it exactly the way. So they're not really even listening to me. They're just waiting for me to stop talking so that they can deliver their performance. But that wouldn't make sense, because what happens if I'm delivering a different performance than they had in their head is what they were reacting to. So in my mind, overstep. He does it a different way. I'm not saying he does this, but if you overdo it and you lock yourself into that, it can be damaging, I think. It just doesn't leave yourself available for the creativity that happens.
The flexibility. We've had several times in the last 14 years where we will do a scene with a new guest star, and it'll be our coverage. So Dean is saying this, Tim is saying that, and the guest star is saying their lines.
Freaking guest
and then we'll
stars.
turn around and they are worse.
Who needs it?
I'm like, hey, that worked fine.
Yeah.
And we'll look at each other and be like, shit, I wish they would just like go with the flow.
They're not
because
giving.
There's some bit of like they're saying the dialogue, but they're, you can learn how to hit a forehand in tennis, but if you have to dive for it, you can't hit the same forehand. So it's more about flexibility and learning to body and learning to like dance a little bit. Like you can learn the moves, and then hey, this person doesn't move the same way you thought they would. So I think he and I kind of really thrive when we let people bring out the best in us as actors while remaining true to sanity.
Don't expect a bunch of fastballs. Be ready for a curve. I think it was, we were for years and years, from season 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, even 4 to 5, and 5 to 6.
14 to 15.
We were always not sure if we were coming back for the next season. Now that doesn't mean that we hadn't done something that we were proud of. That doesn't mean that we didn't think that we had succeeded in what we had set out to do, because anybody that gets from one season to another season, that's a huge success. The odds are so stacked in your favor, or against you, to fail. I don't know what it is today, but I know that when we got on air in season 1 in 2005, there was like an 86% failure rate for new shows. It's probably more than that now. So just the fact that we got on the air was great. And the fact that we stayed on the air was even asking for more on it. So I think it was little by little throughout the years when we kept coming back and we kept coming back. And they moved us around in the schedule, in the lineup, in the week. And they put us in slots that were not favorable at all. And it was, some of these slots that we went to were where they put shows to die.
4 p.m. on Monday afternoon.
You guys kept us alive.
Friday night, 11:30.
We've kept them
I
alive.
want to say there was a text message, like, it's seemingly random, but there's a backstory. I think Jensen texted me one time, hey, the rest of my tooth just fell out. I think it was when we were at our Fight Club moment, like, slap me. One time, I don't know what's going on, but he's like, I'm tired, man, slap me. I think he meant like this, like, I'm beat. He goes, slap me, so without thinking.
Well, it wasn't like it was with his meat and his palm.
Oh no.
So it was more punch-like, right? And I mean, full, like, just like
A sponge.
came from Kentucky. Wow!
Amber Heard would disagree with Jensen.
Yeah, but not only did it wake me up, all of a sudden I was like, just knocked half my molar out.
Still going.
Oh my god.
It's, like your bowler has like 4 points to it. Minus 3. Point Jared.
The title of the video. Point Jared.
What was your first impression of Misha? And then, Jared, can you do your best impersonation of Misha? Because that's what I had him do for you.
Sam Dean Winchester.
So this was essentially the first time I met Misha. It was on set, and we were just about to.
Oh no, is he super short?
And we were just about to.
Or are they just that
to
tall?
rehearse the scene where the character is introduced for the first time, where he comes into the barn, and the lightning, and.
That was a cool scene.
And so I didn't really get a chance to meet him because I was working, shooting a scene with Jim Beaver, and so
Bobby?
all of a sudden they
Bobby?
just bring this new guy on set. They're like, we're just gonna get right into a rehearsal, block out the scene. I'm like, okay, great. So then basically this is what happened.
I raised you from perdition.
So I did that and had the scene, and my face was. And then I quickly found Jared, and I was like,
Hey man, how's the you worked with that new guy, right? What's it, Misha?
I don't really know how to say it. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
What's it?
But
Good. How's it?
apparently it's not even his name. So
Wait, so he chose a fake name and it's Misha?
yeah, exactly. I don't know. Weird. What's more odd is I think he's got like throat cancer or something. Something's going on. Can I give you a hand? You need some help there? That's a wardrobe.
Oh.
Can we?
Just gonna put him on his knees.
Okay. Yeah. He loses his shoe quite a bit.
Lost my shoe.
Call back.
Oh, that's a good
So
episode.
cut to we're walking through the parking lot, and we're just cruising.
So what's it like? What's this Misha?
No, he's just. Oh my gosh, he's right there. He's right there, and he's really, really odd.
He's looking at us. That's legit. We walked up. He was like sitting. It was like a Stephen King movie. He was like sitting on the edge of a truck. Yeah. He was just like this, like sitting on a truck.
But on the bed, like on the flat deck of a truck, where like grips store their equipment, he has a perfectly good trailer right next door. But he's sitting on the back deck of this flatbed.
As we walk by, talking,
And we just walk by, and he's like, yeah, he's right there, he's right there, he's right there.
He was in character or something. True story. Nothing's changed. First episode of season 2, remember that? First episode of season 2, after the car accident, when we're all sitting out there on the field and the ambulance is there. There's this big setup, this big shot, and Sam's going like, "Where's my brother?" He's freaking out, and he's in the stretcher. And it was a July day in August. It was a very hot day, and I had spent like 2 hours, possibly more, getting prosthetic eyepieces to make it look like I had a bulging black eye, And the idea was that my eye hit the steering wheel, and so they put like they use in boxing movies, like Ali and stuff. He had prosthetic, like he got punched in the eye. So spent a couple hours doing it, and then it's time to shoot. It's this big setup. It's Kim Manners directing. I want to do the best job for him, and he has these beautiful shots. But they had me waiting, laying in the gurney because there's between takes, and the
sun's just right there.
The glue. So I'm laying there, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, my eye is just killing me because the glue that was prosthetic to my face was melting into my eyeball, and I could feel it. Yeah. And so that's why at the beginning of the scene, actually, they now have an eye patch on me because they were like, we have to clean his eye out, but we don't have 2.5 hours to put the pieces back on. So they put a big eye patch on me instead. But I mean, I was like, well, there's 3 hours of sleep I'll never get back for nothing. So when something like that, or the Bloody Mary, when it was crying tears, it was a tube that went up my back, over my ear, and then to my tear duct, like this very finite tube, so that they could pump blood. It was So that kind of stuff you can't forget it's on because there's a guy following you around, like who's holding the blood attached to
Would you ever want to do a part 2 to My Bloody Valentine?
Yes!
Sure.
My blood,
Do it!
Why hasn't that come out yet?
Do it!
my bloody Valentine.
And a Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Our
I would.
Bloody
I think
Valentine.
We left it. Well, they left it open.
You're part of the
There to
we.
be a sequel, but the phone hasn't rang. So
The phone has. He's just been on set working. Ring it. The phone has ringed. But he was on set eating quino.
But yes, I'd say that there is, it happens quite frequently. Not that we're reading stuff more like, oh, my character would never say that, I'm just going to change it. It is, look, the writers do an amazing job, and they write incredible stories, and they write fantastic dialogue, and it's, we're lucky to have the crew and the team that we do.
Like shag ass.
There's a very great relationship that we have with writers, and that is based on trust. We trust that they want the best for our characters in the show, and they trust that we will perform it to the best that we can. If there's a line in there, or if there's an action in there that is written on the page that maybe the writer was thinking fit that moment, but then when we get it on its feet, we say it out loud, or we perform the action physically, and it doesn't make sense for the character, it doesn't make sense for the particular scene or
Like
story.
what?
They have entrusted us to make those adjustments needed, and I think that that's probably a rare thing in the entertainment industry.
I mean,
A lot of times people would have to send phones, and call people.
Got some great words in there.
Shooting at like midnight on Friday, everybody in LA is asleep. And we're like, well, these lines are just not making sense now that we're saying it out loud. Do you think I wanted to scream like that when that cat jumped over?
Oh, yeah. Episode where Dean was afraid of everything.
Yeah. And I did it.
I will say that there is a certain difference in if somebody yells Jensen or somebody yells Dean, and the difference is subtle. But this is what it would look like. You yell it out.
Yeah, Jensen.
That's one. Here's two.
Dean.
And it works very similar for him.
Furthermore, well, no, I mean, it's a objective third party. The difference is even further than just physical. It's vocal. Give me a Jensen Dean. Son of a bitch.
Oh, Jensen aims to not laugh. So straight faced all the time.
It's just the nuance. Yeah, it's really just the nuance. You gotta look for it. Thank you. And thank you.
Aww. Was that 17 minutes?
I
Damn.
didn't feel like 17.
That fell
I could-
short.
I
Yeah.
could watch this for 25 minutes.
This might not have been the funniest one that we've seen from the Supernatural convention so far, but I thought it was probably the most interesting one because they really go a lot into the process of how they do their work. It's like, I like hearing the stories, I like hearing some of the behind the scenes stuff, which of course, insinuates a lot of the process. I actually liked hearing, especially in the beginning, my favorite part was hearing about how they do acting. And they say a big part of acting is listening and reacting. Actually, what they were talking about in terms of coverage, like if the camera's on John and I'm feeding him lines or something. I've met a lot of actors who have confessed they're not really doing their best when the camera's not on them because they are reserving the fuel in the tank for when the coverage is on them, basically. And I don't feel like that's really a fair thing to do because I think it's about, you know, giving to the other actor, being committed, being generous. Giving is the most important trait of it all. I thought it was really interesting to hear, like, yeah, they both have two completely different approaches to studying, breaking down, overall preparation. But it sounds like by the time they get to actually filming for a scene, they do let it all go and they just stay in the moment and then they feed off of one another. They listen, they react, they go with the flow. I could see, though, the pressure for someone who is a guest star on a show, like a CW show especially when I was younger. I don't know if acting intensives are like this now, but in my younger years when they would train you for like network television or Disney Channel, things like that, it really was what I consider the wrong kind of acting style of you have to say the lines, especially if it's a back and forth dialogue heavy scene. You have to say the line exactly like this. There's a difference between rhythm and there's a difference between saying a line a certain way. I noticed that they often would program actors like you have to say it like this, especially you get so caught up in your auditioning and then you go to callback, then you go to testing, and then for a guest star you go through a whole lot of process to become a guest star or a reoccurring role, that you do kind of get robotic and lock down the way you're saying your words. And I noticed the best actors tend to say the kind of things that they're actually saying in this video right here, which is you do all this prep, you let it go, and you be in the moment, and you feel. You've done all the homework, and like life, when you're talking with someone, you're just listening, responding, and you know, you're not prepping how you're gonna say it exactly to whatever dialogue you're naturally having in real life. But I think that's why, you know, their dialogue is very super natural.
There you go. We did it. We got the pun.
We got the joke in there.
But yeah, it's a good reminder that scenes really are alive. And yeah, I think anybody who's dabbled in acting has probably gone through that phase of, okay, I gotta train myself to say the line just right. One thing from watching all these, you know, behind the scenes and convention footage is that it seems like they are a good yin-yang for each other. They're not exactly the same, and especially in the prep, that was illustrated by like Jared's reading the script like tons and tons of times, and Jensen's just really hyper studying it the once. And it's cool because it reminds me too that like any type of art form doesn't have one specific way to do it or to prepare for it or to, you know, express it. You know, there are similar things that everybody has to do, but when it comes right down to it, the goal is ultimately the same.
I think with artistic advice, especially like things like acting or whatever, or writing even, advice is kind of like a buffet. You kind of just take what you like, you use what you can, you know, to put on that plate.
Whatever resonates with you.
In terms of like what you're saying with yin and yang, their chemistry on these conventions, the best comparison I got is Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. I feel like Jensen Ackles is kind of like the cool dude who doesn't really laugh at other people's jokes.
Keeps it chill.
But you know he's still sincere. And he's like the cool guy in a different way. Whereas Jared Padalecki is a little bit more laid back, or Gregarious, laughs at everyone's jokes. You know, he's
goofy.
He's a little bit more loose.
And
a
little sillier.
The reason I compare them is because, like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, who still clearly have great chemistry and love for one another in these interviews and stuff, you could feel that with these two right here. It's like I can totally see it that even though the show's ending now, that they're probably gonna stay in touch. They're probably like brothers in real life, especially at this point. Spending so much time on set together. And I like the thing they said about how for like the first few seasons they were always afraid that it might end, but they would still do their best no matter what. There's like on average there's like one season in that early part that's not 20, so there's like the third season or something.
Yeah, it's like 18 or 17 episodes.
It's a little bit shorter, but generally they're about 22 to 24 episodes. There's 45 pages an episode, you know. So that's months and months off work. So the idea of completing a season is pretty impressive. And for some reason, I never looked at it in that perspective. It's so easy to judge a show. But then when you look at, wow, they completed a whole season, I can imagine like what equates to maybe 24 hours of our time is almost a year of shooting for them and then a year of post. You know?
Yeah. Well, and it's a funny reminder of just how TV works and stuff. There are certain things now that get bought just when they're done, like, you know, on streaming services, Netflix. But for shows like this, a lot of the time you're shooting stuff while you have episodes airing. You know, you have your airing schedule going while you have your shooting schedule sort of a few steps ahead of that. And there's a lot that can happen there. And they talked about getting moved around to different time slots, and that was nice to hear in an odd way, because I feel like that used to happen a whole lot more in TV than it does now. Because, like he said, it's probably worse now, and I think that's true because there's so much more content, and you see all these shows that come out and only do one season.
What's crazy to me is the show's notoriously known for having a very low budget.
Yes.
I mean, you could kind of pick up on that by the fact that they were always afraid the show's going to get canceled and they keep moving the time slots.
Yeah.
It's known to have a really low budget, if I'm doing my math right, because the first season's, 2005?
Yeah.
And we're only on the season 4 right now, so it's like 2009, 2010, somewhere there. And the effects are wonderful in the show. It's pretty crazy to me how, for a CW low-budget show, and I see some CW shows where the effects don't look that great, how the effects look pretty awesome here for a low-budget series from a decade ago. And
they hold up decently.
A lot of credit to the people there. I mean, they're talking about like the prosthetics and stuff. The prosthetics are always good. The practical effects are always great. But even like the visual effects, the CGI, still holds up in a lot of ways. A lot of times it's still unnerving, very unsettling.
Except when it's Sam's melting eyeball.
Yeah.
It's like that. I hadn't thought of it in that moment, but I've been through that in the past, where you have like a prosthetic that's glued on and you're sweating and there's blood too, and it's all dripping and your eyes are burning.
The second he said he's laying down and the sun is on him,
yes,
I was like, this story is gonna be awful. I mean, even if you've just dealt with like blood, not even prosthetics, but if you're like have blood covered on you, it's gonna be painful.
Because then you'll get sweaty and you'll get into that place where the blood doesn't dry and it doesn't stay completely wet, so you're just like slimy and sticking to your clothes and gross and yeah.
I know in the last convention thing we watched, they showed a little bit of Misha Collins speaking.
I know.
I don't really remember what he comes. I remember he comes across like a little more charismatic and friendly. Yeah, I mean, he's not that he doesn't have his charm in the show. I love his Castiel character. It's real.
I know, but it's the line, the way he delivers.
Well, John, I'm trying to make sure people don't hate on you for getting facts wrong.
I appreciate
Supernatural's
that.
a sensitive fandom.
I know. They're gonna burn me at the stake. I apologize on my behalf to the people. I would like to see more of Misha in these as we get further in. I would imagine we will, but yeah, like especially their rapport with him, I'm curious about, because that whole bit where like it seems like everybody who's in the main cast or the main recurring cast has a certain rapport. Boisterous, sort of brotherly, familial vibe going on.
I don't think they would make fun of him if they weren't truly, like, in love with him, too. Yeah. I think Ash was the one who told me that Misha Collins was only supposed to be on, like, a few episodes, but he was so, kind of like Aaron Paul, Jesse situation for Breaking Bad. He was so great that they pretty much made him a regular. I think he's officially a regular now, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Don't confirm that in the comments.
As of season 15, he's now a regular.
He'll star and there'll be a spinoff about
finally. Yeah. But hey, start that petition. Let's get that Bloody Valentine too.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. And a Friday the 13th follow-up.
All right. Well, Ash, thank you so much for putting this together, guys. Subscribe to Supernatural Conventions. Ash puts a lot of work into these, as you can tell. Make sure to check us out on our Patreon page where we got all them goodies. Come on, Patreon today. Subscribe. Click notification bells to get notified whenever we got a video up. We want to cover like these videos at least once a month. And last but not least, LB. Take it away, John.
LB, you're an angel in our eyes.
Like Castiel's eyes.
Yeah, and that's why, I've only ever seen your little profile picture, and I have a feeling that if we were to gaze upon your actual face, we would both end up like Pamela from the show, and our eyes would burn out from your intense glory. So thank you for protecting our vision, for being here, for being you, for chiming in on these episodes, on the BTS. Like, you have such a wide array of interests, and you bring such joy to our page. So thanks for being here, and much love to you.
John, you successfully rambled and made it about her the
I
whole time.
did it. I've been studying.
You finally did it, John.
Last night I sat at home and I watched 100 of your shout-outs and just took meticulous notes.
Hell yeah. John did it.
Flatter them. Make it about them.
And I've made it about John.
Hey!